Black Maid shocked a billionaire by speaking Dutch, then he asked to see her. In a world where money often decides who is seen and who is ignored, she was invisible, just another hotel maid cleaning up after the wealthy. But one simple phone call changed everything. The moment her voice flowed in flawless Dutch, a billionaire froze in disbelief. Who was this woman? And how could someone society overlooked so easily hold a gift that demanded respect? What happened next would expose truths far bigger than a language and reveal a reality that money alone could never hide. She was used to being overlooked. Every morning before the sun rose, she tied her hair back, slipped into the crisp hotel uniform, and walked the long blocks to the city's most luxurious five-star hotel. For guests, she was just a shadow, someone who made their beds, scrubbed their bathrooms, and disappeared before they ever remembered her name. Her co-workers knew her as quiet, disciplined, and always on time. She rarely spoke more than she needed to, not because she lacked words, but because she had learned that in places like this, silence was safer. Behind the smile she wore for supervisors was a woman who carried stories, memories, and a history most of the world would never care to ask about. The hotel itself was a palace for the wealthy. Billionaires, politicians, and celebrities walked through its revolving doors, their lives a world away from hers. Yet she served them daily, setting their rooms, folding their towels, and erasing every trace of their existence once they left. To them, she was invisible. To herself, she was simply surviving. But life has a way of turning silence into revelation. And soon, a moment would come when the world inside those polished hotel walls would no longer be able to ignore her, because hidden within her, beneath the quiet obedience expected of her job, was a voice and a language that would shatter the assumptions of everyone around her. It started like any other afternoon. She was making her way through the top-floor suites, balancing a cart stacked with fresh linens, soaps, and neatly folded towels. The quiet hum of vacuums echoed from nearby rooms. She moved quickly, careful not to draw attention. Then came the call. The phone on the desk in one of the grandest suites rang sharply, echoing through the empty room. Normally, staff weren't supposed to answer. It wasn't their place. But this time, something felt different. The guest was out, the ringing was loud, and ignoring it might have meant trouble later. Hesitantly, she picked it up. "Goedemiddag, met we spreek ik," she said instinctively. "Good afternoon. Who am I speaking with?" The words flowed out in flawless Dutch, natural and confident, as though she had been waiting her whole life to speak them. She didn't even think twice. What she didn't know was that someone had just walked in. Behind her, the door had opened quietly. A man stepped in, tall, sharply dressed, his shoes polished so perfectly they caught the light. His presence was magnetic, the kind that silenced entire rooms. He wasn't just another guest. He was one of the wealthiest men in Europe, a billionaire known for his empire in finance and global investments. And he had stopped dead in his tracks at the sound of her voice. He watched her, shocked. How could a hotel maid, someone hired to clean up after others, speak his native language so perfectly? She hung up the phone, unaware at first that she wasn't alone. Then she turned and froze. His piercing eyes were fixed on her, filled not with disdain, but with disbelief. In that instant, her carefully invisible world began to unravel. "Who are you?" he asked finally, his voice low but sharp, like he had just uncovered a secret hidden in plain sight. The other staff passed by in the hallway, carrying trays and laughing softly, completely unaware of what was unfolding inside that room. She stood rooted in place, her hands trembling, unsure of what she had just set in motion. The billionaire stepped closer, studying her like she was more than just an employee, like she was a puzzle he suddenly needed to solve. And then, with a calm yet commanding tone, he said the words that would change everything. "I want to see you." Her heart pounded. She didn't know if those words meant opportunity or danger. The words echoed in her mind. "I want to see you." For a hotel maid, those were not ordinary words. They carried weight, power, and danger. She followed him hesitantly into the private lounge, the air thick with silence. Her uniform felt heavier with every step. She had spent years blending into the background, invisible among polished floors and glittering chandeliers. But now, under his gaze, there was no hiding. The billionaire leaned forward, his eyes narrowed in curiosity. "Where did you learn Dutch?" Her voice trembled as she answered. She explained how her grandmother had raised her in a small community overseas, where Dutch was spoken in their household every single day. But when she moved to this city, that part of her identity had been tucked away, dismissed, mocked, and even ridiculed by those who saw her only as a black maid. He listened in silence, but his expression shifted. First disbelief, then something sharper. "Do you know what people say about you down there?" he said coldly, gesturing toward the lower floors where the staff worked. "They don't see your mind. They don't hear your voice. They only see—" He stopped, his eyes scanning her uniform. Her chest tightened. She knew exactly what he meant. For the first time in years, anger burned hotter than fear inside her. "And what do you see?" she asked softly, but firmly. The room went still. He didn't answer right away. Instead, he stood, circling her slowly, as though trying to decide if she was worth more than the role society had forced her into. Finally, he stopped and said the last thing she expected. "I see someone wasted in the wrong place." The words cut deep. Were they an insult, or the first hint of recognition she had ever received? In that moment, her entire world teetered on the edge, between humiliation and opportunity, between invisibility and being truly seen. The question was, which way would it fall? She left the lounge that night with trembling hands, but her heart felt different, no longer weighed down only by shame. For once, someone had looked beyond the uniform, beyond the color of her skin, and seen a piece of who she really was. The billionaire had told her he wanted to recommend her for a position, not as a maid, but as a translator for his global company. He admitted he had judged her at first glance, just like everyone else. But hearing her speak Dutch so fluently had shattered his assumptions in an instant. The offer sounded like a miracle, but it also stung. Why had it taken a moment of surprise, a performance of language, for her to finally be noticed? Why wasn't her dignity, her hard work, or her humanity enough on its own? As she returned to her small staff quarters, she replayed the night in her mind. She realized the real victory wasn't the opportunity he gave her, it was the truth revealed. Racism in class had blinded an entire hotel full of wealthy guests to the brilliance of the woman cleaning their floors. And it took one shocking moment for even a billionaire to realize what he had overlooked. Her story is not rare. Across the world, countless people are underestimated, dismissed, or judged for their skin before they ever open their mouths. Some will never be given a chance to prove themselves. Some will never be seen at all. But here's the question that lingers. Why should anyone have to shock the world just to be treated with respect? Until society answers that, her story, and millions like it, will keep echoing. And maybe it's time we finally start listening.